Thank you guys so much for coming. This is so cool. My name is Jesslyn Stoll, and I want to see health and wellness change everybody's lives. I want it to be accessible, and I want it to be sustainable and affordable, and I want it to be completely seamless. I think that health should be integrated. I think that our healthcare system that's so segmented really gets in the way of being able to share information and really help heal people. And when, as a patient, you're bouncing around all day to so many different appointments and you're trying to work with so many different doctors and specialists, but the specialists aren't communicating, then there's a huge breakdown. And either healing doesn't happen or it's delayed. And that's not fair. You don't want to spend time and your resources being sick. So the Wellness Co-op is all about bringing people together, whether you're participants or you're experts in different fields, and we're all coming together for whole wellness. And tonight is the co-op experience. We're all coming from different backgrounds and from different reasons. And I want to hear from you guys, why are you here and what are you expecting to get out of the co-op?
You're ready for volunteers?
Yeah! We'll start on this side over here.
Well, I'm new to yoga. This is my first time ever at a yoga studio, so I'm just kind of here to learn and see what this is all about, and to support you because we know you. And
oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm kind of here the same reason for you. And I mean, I kind of practice yoga, but I like to get more involved and in depth with stuff like that, and the overall wellness thing.
Right. Good.
I think that's what I'm doing. I'm Ron too. Probably I won't speak for you, but the holistic approach is all. It's all about. That's what it's about. Mm-hmm. Is you've got to know body, mind, and spirit, and it's got to be all of those together.
Yeah.
So. Well, I feel exactly the same way that Diane just said. It's really holistic, and that's the thing that in my life I've really never done, never really pursued. But it's just. I mean, as I get older, I realize that things can make a difference and change, whether it's your diet or the exercising or whatever it might be. But the more things that you do, I think it does make a big difference. I think I was always a person that, I knew the things to do, but I never do it because you're just like, well, that probably, I don't know, it'll work maybe or whatever, but just really never get into it. But lately I've gotten into things and it just makes a tremendous difference.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so.
Very cool. Anybody else?
Yeah, I've had like a half a dozen factors converging at once, starting with Jesslyn and I became friends through her work and have developed a professional connection, but I also hit 50. My mother did not make it out of her 50s. I've spent many years going no, and yoga is one of the things I was probably the most terrified of my entire life. Because I am the least flexible person I know, and it's become part of that. Yes. Well, commiserate over here. But it's just, it's kind of like new part of my life, new challenges, time to do things that I always said no without really exploring.
Oh, so cool. I love when people stop
saying Jesslyn is a motivator in that. She's one of those that comes through and you find yourself going, yeah, let's go.
Yes, let's do it. We all need to say yes more often. I love it. All right, well, the Wellness Co-op is a holistic collective of health and wellness experts, and we're working together under one roof to help people that are seeking strength, new starts, and a new health story. So I hope that no matter what you get out of this experience, that you will decide to write a new health story for yourself. All right, so tonight we're here at Ashwanda Yoga Studio, and this is Andrew, and he is the owner and the dreamer of this beautiful space, and I want to thank you so much for having us here.
You're welcome.
And he's been here all day. Some of these people have been here all day training, and so I want him to go ahead and speak about how can all of these people get the most out of your beautiful studio.
Developing a personal practice would be the first and foremost way that you could get a lot out of your month of time here. A personal practice is actually the greatest compliment that you can ever pay any teacher. It means that you liked it enough to actually do it. So it can start with 10 minutes. It can start with 5 minutes. It can, but it has to be that, something that you're dedicated to and that you're prepared to work for, and something that you're prepared to do when you don't particularly feel like it. It's like taking a shower. It's kind of a hassle sometimes. It takes 10 minutes, but you feel better when you get done. So that's sort of how you can begin relating to yoga, and it cleans you. It cleans you from the inside. And as far as diet and lifestyle and all of these things, it can be very disempowering to be constantly in the hands of others for your health care. Whether it be body work or doctors or acupuncture or whatever, at some point you have to take responsibility for your own state of being and start to do things to control that. And I'm going to pause because the train will be passed in a moment. Yeah, we should close the door. But when you do yoga daily, even if it's for a relatively short time, you'll notice that it's easier on some days and harder on others. And you'll notice. And then if you start to correlate your lifestyle, diet, stress level, and all the other factors in your life to whether yoga was easier or harder, you'll notice that certain things you do are not good for you. And it's evident in a very clear way. Whatever makes you heavy, stiff, tired, depressed, all of that is bad for you. It's so obvious. And whatever, on the other hand, makes you feel good and buoyant and more flexible and creates a state of calmness and happiness and clarity is good. And when you start to practice even just a little bit of yoga, breathing deeply, stretching within 70 to 80% of your maximum capacity, you notice the differences right away. A lot of people feel like initially that yoga is about making shapes with your body. You're going to make a posture and you need to, for it to be a certain way. But that is actually one of the biggest drawbacks, because you should think more in terms of achieving a range of pressure for your body on that day, at that time, that's within 70 or 80% of your maximum stretch. And that's a slightly complicated way of saying the range of the stretch that feels good. If it hurts, don't do it, because your body is hardwired to deal with pain. Pain is a part of life, and it is life's most articulate teacher. You can learn intellectually, but when something hurts, you really learn. Yeah. So if you manage to approach your practice in a way that focuses primarily on breathing and that doesn't create any kind of pain, and to act like you're not going to feel sore from doing yoga is not the case. You will, but minimally, if you stay within the 70 or 80% range. And particularly this style of yoga that we teach here is very effective. And it is a particularly intense approach. So you have to be careful, and you have to stay within that range. But we have excellent teachers, I feel. And we have a variety of approaches. We're all teaching one thing, but our methods differ in how we approach it. And so there are beginning classes 7 days a week, and hopefully some of those will work for you in your schedule. And yeah, there's a Yoga Foundations 9 a.m. on Fridays. That's our our most gentle, nurturing kind of class. I mean, we have introductory classes at all sorts of other times, and our schedule is there. You can look at it. But the integration of yoga with other types of therapy should be looked at, and that's a theme here. And most of my yoga teachers have done some form of body work, or chiropractic manipulations, massage, Thai massage, all kinds of therapy. Most of us are interested in those things. And as a person who's spent some years giving those services myself, I can say that it's just much more gratifying to work on people who are also working on themselves. Mm-hmm. If you are simply a consumer and you're just going to lay down and have somebody rub on you, then that will help you for a limited period of time until you need to be rubbed on again. However, if you are working on your body personally and taking steps yourself to start to purify yourself, start to become more sensitive to what's going on. And if you work out one day and you notice that you're stiff and you belch up some particular food, you may say to yourself, I don't want to eat that anymore. And then don't eat it because your body's telling you. And I mean, I think that there are guidelines and eating less, eating vegetarian, eating organic, eating less processed crap, eating more raw, healthy, fresh food. All of these guidelines are correct and they're going in the right direction, but it's too much to do all at once for most people. You have to kind of settle for the attainable. So just taking a tiny step in the direction that you're trying to go, doing a little bit of yoga, listening to your body, do less of the thing that you know is the worst for you, whatever that thing is. If it's, if you smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day and you notice that you can't really breathe and it's bumming you out, well, smoke 1.5. Just start pulling back and go in a slow, steady way in the direction you're trying to get. Most of the time, and I've watched for a long time, I've been doing this for 27 years, and I've taught for a long time, and I can say that the people who are the most radical when they get into it and change everything and become that evangelical are usually the people that fall off and don't continue. So my advice to everybody starting yoga is start slow. Start and enjoy it. And the person who enjoys it today is more likely to want to do it again. And don't kid yourself. Just do what you can do and enjoy it and start to listen to the signals that your body gives. And then as you see more deeply into your patterns and you realize that, oh, well, some of these stretches are much harder for me on one side than the other. Some of these things, I've just become aware that I have weak areas in my body. That's when a body worker who's trained in a particular discipline can come in and really do you some good. Because in a way, you're meeting them halfway. You're meeting them 3/4 of the way. Because you're trying to work on it yourself. And otherwise, yeah, they'll help you. But it'll last for 10 minutes if you don't help yourself. So, and then maybe 10 minutes is an undersell. Like 10 days, okay? 10 days. But as soon, fundamentally, everybody has stress, right? Unless you live in a perfect bubble of peace and tranquility, you have stress. And you're right-handed. And if you're not right-handed, you're left-handed. And it's not a symmetrical world. So the tension patterns in your body develop over time and become more or less intense based on your stress level and pull on your bones. And eventually they pull your bones out of alignment far enough that it starts to hurt. And that's when you are wanting to go see somebody because you're this or that is bothering you. And if you don't do anything to release those tension patterns on your own, all anyone else can do for you is, rub it out, try to get the muscles to fire again, try to open you up and stretch you and perhaps adjust your spine and put things back into place, and you get, they can revamp you and get you up and running again. But unless you change the underlying foundations of your situation, then it's just a short fix, and you'll be back again. So the idea, I think, here is to make maximum use of the classes, which you can come 3 times a day if you care to, and learn something that you can actually do on your own. We have diagrams. We have teachers that will work. You can come at 6:30 in the morning and have somebody work directly with you in a very personal way if you can arrive at that hour. And you should just be aware that it's not competitive. And nobody cares whether you can keep up exactly. We care that you don't get hurt, and we care that you don't feel too intimidated. Ashtanga is a potent medicine, and it is intimidating at first. There's going to be a whole bunch of people going, and you might think, whoa. But, that's just a way of breathing, and a way of focusing attention on your breath. And I've watched the transformative power of these practices for quite a long time, and I've seen radical change in so many people. And if you're looking for radical change, then this is the right thing, and this is the right opportunity. If you're not so interested in radical change, it's probably going to overwhelm you, and can be very frank about that. So I think that's pretty much my perspective. Just on a very practical level, I would encourage you to show up about 5 to 10 minutes before each class time. We have bathrooms with showers if you care to take a shower before or after class. There are dressing rooms. There's a garden to sit in if it's sunny and nice and you just want to sit in the garden. It's perfectly acceptable to just walk in, take off most of your clothing and lay down on the floor. And just lay around for a while until class starts. You can show up 15 minutes early and lay down and just stretch yourself a bit. And that's perfectly fine. In fact, we're always very happy to see that. You can click the first time questions tab on our website for a lot of just basic information about, do I need a mat? What should I wear? What should I do? People think of questions and sometimes psych themselves out about this or that. And you can call me. My cell phone number is on the flyers. You can just call me and ask me if you're not sure. But the first time questions tab aims to answer a lot of those simple questions that beginners have. So I want to thank Jessalyn and Bryce and Claire and Thomas and Victoria and all of you. And Allison too. So she helped work all this out.
Yes, thank you very much.
And so I'll turn it over to you.
Great.
And just wish you all a great experience here, and just feel welcome to come as much as you like.
Thanks. Bryce is actually going to lead us through a quick breathing exercise. I think everybody probably needs a little. Thank you. So let's get started and let Bryce take it from here for a few minutes.
So I'm going to elaborate a few things that Andrew spoke about. This practice is very powerful, and you don't have to be strong or flexible or anything to do yoga. When I started, I couldn't touch my toes, and I couldn't even do a push-up. I was so weak. I was weak and stiff, and but it did a lot of good for me. I've known Andrew and his dad my whole life. They're old family friends. And I was diagnosed with severe scoliosis when I was 15. And surgeons wanted to fuse my whole spine together with a single titanium rod. And so they just suggested that I try yoga. And I knew in that first class that I'd never get any kind of surgery. But I mean, I was weak and I was stiff and I could barely even move and I was in pain, but it just takes consistent practice to heal yourself. And slowly I got stronger and slowly I got more flexible. But strength and flexibility and peace of mind, these are just side effects. And that's a principle that Andrew taught me years and years and years ago. They just happen to you. So those are like just some of the things that happen. It's like a renewal of the system. But I teach yoga. I practice Thai body work. So also the breath is the main key with this type of yoga. Like he showed us earlier. This real loud breath. This is what we do during the physical practice. It's a way to create heat internally, so you don't have to like rely on a heater or anything like that. Or it helps you create more heat when you're in your home, so you don't have to turn your thermostat up really high and make the bill skyrocket. You can create your heat on your own. You can practice outside, you can practice inside, you can practice wherever you want. Also, with this practice of Ashtanga Yoga, we have these set sequences of physical postures. It's very intelligent. Each posture more or less prepares you for the next, and it's easy to pick it up on your own. Because once you do it for a little while, you start to memorize, oh yeah, this comes next. I don't have to even think about it, I just know, I just do it. So it's really easy to create a personal practice yourself. I say easy, but it's not easy, it's approachable is what it is, if you're dedicated to the practice. So that loud type of breath is called Ujjayi. Yeah, it's about this internal heat, but there are many types of breathing techniques. Pranayama is what breathing techniques, it's what it means. Prana is like air or chi or energy. Yama is like this, the control of this breath. So there are many types of breathing techniques, many different effects. Some heat you up, some calm you down. And everybody says if you're stressed out, you're angry, you take 10 deep breaths, right? Everybody's heard that. That's totally valid, because your breath, if you control your breath, you can start to control your own heart rate, and you can literally calm yourself down by the breath. So we're going to do this real simple breath. It's called the 1-2 ratio. And my friends tell me this is 96-year-old handstand master. His name's Kumar. I'll talk about him in a little bit. So the main thing about breathing techniques, or this type of breathing technique, it's not about just filling and emptying the lungs. It's about the speed in which you do this. It's about regulating the flow of air that you take in and that you expel. So you inhale a count of 1 and you exhale a count of 2. Now that's a bit easy. So we're going to inhale 3 and exhale 6. And so I'll count us off. If you can synchronize your breath with the count, great, but don't worry about it. If you can fill your lungs by the time I say 3, and if you can empty by 6, great. But if it's not totally exact, it doesn't matter. The main thing is that you're feeling this rhythm. So you just sit up nice and straight. You just take 1 deep, normal breath. Exhale everything. Inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now release for a second. Just take a moment. I should have mentioned this before. You want to breathe in and out through the nose, and there are a couple of reasons for this. The most practical is about filtration. You know, you're filtering out all the dust and the debris, pollen, all this stuff. It collects on like the mucous membrane inside the sinus cavity, so that doesn't go into your lungs. Yeah. The other thing is about giving your body time to acclimate to the external temperature. If it's really cold outside and you take a deep breath through your mouth, you get cold really fast because your mouth is much closer to your lungs than your nose is. If you breathe in and out through the nose, your body has time to acclimate to that external air. It can either heat it up or cool it down, depending. So think about breathing in and out through the nose. It can be hard at first, but most of these breathing techniques are done through the nose. So we'll do the 3-6 again. Is that okay? Is it too much?
No.
All right, so take a deep breath. Exhale everything. Inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just take 2 normal breaths. And close your eyes. We'll up the count to 4, 8. One more deep breath. Exhale everything. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Release 2 normal breaths. We'll do 5, 10. So take 1 deep breath. Exhale everything. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Release. So just breathe normal. Sometimes when you do these things, you can get really stressed out. You create this snowball of discomfort because the hardest part is at the very end of the exhale and the very beginning of the inhale. If you've already exhaled everything and I'm still counting, the second I say inhale, you've taken too much all at once. And the next thing you know, your lungs are full and I'm still counting. And it just snowballs from there and you get stressed out and it's hard to kind of regroup. But you can think of this as like a controlled situation of self-induced stress. If you can sit with that discomfort of not breathing for a moment and then slowly draw the air in or out whenever it's time to breathe again, you can correct the imbalance. Oh, wait a second. And so sometimes, you can get a bit stressed out when you're doing yoga, but if you can sit with that stress and learn to kind of breathe through it, even if it's just like uncomfortable, if you can just sit with it for a bit and keep your composure, it's going to reflect in the rest of your day-to-day activities. Whenever you're in a stressful situation that you did not create, or maybe you didn't, but it's going to reflect, and it's a bit easier to keep your composure in a situation that you didn't have so much control over. So that's a bit more of like the internal practice with this stuff, but it's a very powerful practice, but the breathing techniques and the sitting practice, that's kind of what comes later. They say that this physical practice, that the majority of what we teach is, like at least here, it prepares you for the sitting practice. you can't sit here with your eyes closed and focus on your breath and focus on clearing your mind if you have a bunch of aches and pains in your back or your knees or something. Your body's going to tell you, hey, stop sitting here. Like, this hurts. Do something. So the physical practice is about healing those injuries, releasing that tension so that you can actually stand to sit there long enough and be comfortable. That's what they say that the true intention for this practice is, the physical stuff. From there, then you do the more sitting, breathing techniques, meditation, stuff like this. That's more of like a macrocosm for the practice. How you look at the physical practice that you'll get introduced in these classes. Each pose prepares you for the next. Well, Ashtanga yoga, it means 8 limbs yoga, and so these different limbs prepare you for the next. The physical practice prepares you for the pranayama practice. The pranayama prepares you for the meditation. They each prepare you for the next, and they make it more potent. What else are we talking about?
We're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions over?
When you teach?
Yeah. Okay, so no questions so far?
Well, you have to pace yourself when you're letting your breath back out, Ken.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you say 1, 2, 3, then I'm going to let it out on 1, 2, 3.
I know.
Then you keep going. And so that's part of the discipline then? Is that what you're saying? Is to slow your exhale?
Yeah, it's about regulating the speed. The capacity is going to be the same regardless. It's about, what we just did is about regulating the speed in which you inhale and exhale.
So it's a mental discipline.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when you're doing this, do you breathe with your stomach more than your lungs and your chest?
No. And these principles will be taught in all of our classes. There are things called bandhas, which mean lock. It's about specific muscular contractions in the body that help optimize the overall performance of your system. These locks help you sit up straight, and they teach you how to breathe with the rib cage and with the chest.
Okay.
Most people either breathe through their belly or just a little bit with their chest, and that's not very good. It makes you have a very short capacity for taking air in if you only breathe a little bit with your chest. So these practices help you fill your lungs and empty them completely.
Through your rib cage.
Yeah, it's like an outward. No, it's like an outward and upward expansion as you breathe in and out. But these are some more advanced principles that we teach later on. But it's good to go over these. One of these locks is called Uddiyana Bandha. That's about keeping your stomach tight. Yeah, keeping everything below your navel from moving as you breathe with your diaphragm. It's okay if it's everything like in your abs above the belly button moves, because that's how the diaphragm has to move when you breathe. That's good. You don't want to breathe with your lower belly. That's like the one part of your body you don't want to be loose and flexible. That's your center of gravity. Yeah, that's the one place you want to be tight to, and that's the place that everybody struggles with. I work with football players, NFL players, with big-time weightlifters. That's the thing they all struggle with. Everybody. Breathing with the ribs. That's one principle for the sitting practice. Any other questions before I move on? So, I teach a lot of private classes, and my approach is completely unique to each individual. The first thing I do is figure out what your aches and pains are, what your issues are, try and get a good idea of your asymmetry that's going on. If you have one side that's tighter than the other, if you have one side that's like more flexible or more toned than the other side, just mapping out these asymmetries, that's a huge part of what I do. Because when you come to the class, it's more like this one-size-fits-all kind of practice. And unless you know what your issues are and you know how to heal them, you can kind of just get lost in this practice, and you're more likely to not be focused on your issue and maybe just make it a bit worse, or not be doing things to correct it. So one thing I do is figure out these asymmetries and figure out, well, this part of your body's weak. Well, what part of your body is strong, and why is it compensating for this weakness? How do we get those muscles to turn off, so to speak, and relax? How do we figure out how to strengthen these weak areas? That's the first thing that I like to do. And then as I take somebody through these set sequences, every step of the way, it's like you need to contract here. Maybe you don't push so far on this side. Maybe you hold back on this side. Maybe you push even deeper on this side and relax here. And so all these little bitty details, that's my approach anyways. And that can be very beneficial for people that have issues like pain. Everybody has pain, but severe issues like surgeries or whatever like that. But that's not crucial. If you practice yoga long enough, you'll figure out your strengths and weaknesses. It'll show you. So that's my approach. And even people who aren't very mobile, then I tend to start off with body work, just to get them moving and breathing and get them to release some tension. And yoga is much more effective, just like Andrew was saying, yoga is much more effective body work is much more effective with yoga. Especially right after you do yoga. That's the best time for body work, because you're already open, you're already warm, your muscle tissue is soft, it's already smoothed out. Then the body worker can just go so much deeper, and it's so much more beneficial.
How did they book with you, Bryce? If they wanted it in-home or private, or if they wanted Thai?
Yeah. Well, you can email me or you can call me. I have cards right out there. You can always just show up to a class. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but Kumar. Let me tell you about Kumar.
Oh, yeah.
So Kumar is this crazy guy. He's 96. He grew up in the circus. He's from India. And he's the one who taught me this really simple 1-2 ratio. He taught me a lot of various little bitty things you can do to make your practice deeper. But he has this photograph of him on this tightrope between these skyscrapers in New York, where he's doing a one-arm handstand on top of a chair, on top of like a Coca-Cola bottle, on top of the he's crazy, but he's very practical, and he's very well known. He's in a lot of movies and all the Wes Anderson films. He's a great guy. But I have a lot of teachers, and every teacher has their own unique approach and their own ideas. And so explore as many teachers as you can find until you find one that you can really resonate with.
So can you do that?
No, not yet. Maybe when I'm 96, I guess.
Next year for you.
Awesome. Any more questions for Bryce?
But anybody can do yoga. Like I work with this woman who's 74 who came to me with severe scoliosis. She couldn't walk anywhere without a cane when I met her. And she's like, I want to come to your public class. I was like, nope. That's not going to be good for you. And so we started with Thai body work because she could barely even move around, and just to get her to loosen up the muscle tissue, and then had her sit up and do maybe 2 yoga postures and twist around a bit, and that was it the first time. And the next time she came in a week later, we did maybe 2 more poses, and then we just slowly started adding more and more yoga in. Mm-hmm. And then now, I mean, I've been seeing her for over 2.5 years, and on a weekly basis, and after the first month, there's no more cane. She could just walk fine, and now she does more yoga than she does body work, and she does it every day on her own. But that's why she made so much progress, is because she practices every single day. Just like Andrew said, it doesn't matter if you do an hour a day. What matters is you do 10 minutes a day. Do something every single day. That's the only way you're going to really heal yourself and make progress with this stuff.
Right. Very cool. Next, we're going to talk to Claire.
I am also a yoga instructor, but like Andrew talked about, all the different elements that you kind of discover in your yoga practice, food was the big thing that really came up in my life. And so I worked, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Matthew Kenny or 105 Degrees. I worked there and as a raw food chef and educator in their public classes. And so my background is in not just raw, but also cooked food, but plant-based nutrition, holistic nutrition, and with an emphasis on juice cleansing. So I created Vidya, which in Sanskrit, which is the whole practice of yoga, is to clear avidya, which is false perception, and Vidya means clarity or knowledge or promoting inner wisdom. And so I think that through cleansing and through a clean, whole foods, plant-based diet, you can not only further your yoga practice, but just further your personal health and your personal spiritual growth as well. And so I use cleansing as a very intentional and specific tool for helping you connect back in with your body, and not just your body, but your soul, your mind, your intentions, your goals, everything that you're trying to do, and using the mode of juice cleansing as a way of getting there. And so I lead people through guided private cleanses and public cleanses. Usually once a month I'll do a workshop. And this one, coming up on March 16th, is about seasonal cleansing. And so it's kind of an introduction to the science behind juice fasting, how to juice, what kind of juicers, all the kind of tricks of the trade, and how to really create a balanced cleansing plan for yourself. Not just if you want to do a full-blown juice cleanse, but also like you, who've been doing daily juice every day for 5 years, I'm sure you notice a huge difference. And so I'll be there giving some juice samples, talking about the benefits, the how-tos, the whys, and also just talking a little bit more about how to use juicing more than just a weight loss program, really getting into the deeper side of it. And so and the workshop emphasizes this idea of spring renewal, because I think cleansing with the seasons from an Ayurvedic perspective, from many different health practices, is the most beneficial time, and especially with spring, because we're moving out of this slower, colder, heavier time into this lighter kind of where raw foods and juices and things like that are much easier for your body and better for your body. And so I hope you all can join me there. I will also be talking about how you can hire me to kind of guide you through the whole experience. So if you have personal needs or allergies or things like that, we work together through a consultation process to discover what your body really needs, and it can create a personalized cleanse plan for you. If you have a juicer at home but just don't know where to start with the cleanses, I work you through the whole process as you would as if I were providing the juices. And then I can also provide the juices and supplements as well. And so I also do a balance of potassium broth and kind of healing. It's called Sole. It's a salt, Himalayan pink salt infused with purified water and sunlight, essentially. And it helps your kidneys function, because you need a little bit of sodium in your kidneys to retain all that water and to create a proper balance in your body. So the program I do tries to balance all of those elements, as well as incorporating elements of Ayurvedic medicine. And so we work together to not only just give you the juices, but kind of prepare your body for it, do the cleanse, and then work together afterwards. So it's a full holistic program. I feel like, unlike many others where you can just buy some juices off the internet now, it's a guided thing that takes you deeper, and especially if you're practicing yoga and doing body work with all of these talented people, you'll really find yourself in a really special place to heal anything that you're dealing with, physically or emotionally as well. So I hope you all can be there. Sign-ups are a separate thing, so if you grab my card outside or take a look at the workshop or find me online, it's vidyacleanse.com. Email me, call me, my phone number is on my card as well. And so, look.
I remember you telling me when we talked last time that, and I can't remember if it was a family member or client who had rheumatoid arthritis.
Right, my father actually. Yeah, my father was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis almost 4 years ago now. I can't believe it's been so long. And we are thick-headed, stubborn Italians, let me tell you. Like, this man did not want to give up his meat, his pasta, his wine, all this stuff. He didn't want to give it up. And so I said, fine, you don't have to give it up, but here, let's get you a juicer. It doesn't have to be an expensive juicer, but let's just get you a juicer, and I'll teach you about juicing. It took me 3 years to get through to this man, probably because I'm his daughter too, but I think once I started doing it as a career, he's like, okay, I guess maybe there's something to this. So we got him a juicer, got him all set up, and he started doing juicing for himself every day. Granted, at night, he still ate his pasta, he still had some wine, but within 3 days, he could close his hands again. And he couldn't do that in 3 years. And then within 10 days, he called me, oh my gosh, I have all this energy. Where is it coming from? It can't just be the juice. No way. He's like, no, I can't believe this. And so he still plays this kind of the skeptic role. And now it's been 5 months and he still juices every day. He makes big mason jars and fills it up and sips on it all morning long, and he's cut back. He's slowly come back to the coffee a little bit, but he's feeling the differences. And after you left, he told me, okay, I think I'm going to go back to just juicing in the morning. And he's satisfied. He feels great. He's more conscious of what the wine and the pasta and the meat all does in his body, and he's finding himself craving less and less of it. And he's slowly coming off of his medication as well. And so I'm happy for that. And I really, I mean, I've worked with a lot of clients, not rheumatoid, but other just kind of regular arthritis, all of those issues. And I'll talk more about this at the workshop, but balancing your pH levels and what juicing does in terms of alkalinity and fighting inflammation. And I think if you're especially dealing with diseases that are inflammation-based, which I think is the root of all disease, but specifically arthritis, specifically, heart issues, working into diabetes, all of these things, high blood pressure, you can help regulate with juicing. And so I've just probably worked with 350 cleanse clients in Oklahoma City since I've been here in the last year, and it's been really cool results from everything, and it's just been inspiring, each story. So.
And I wanted to be clear too, when Claire does the juicing for you, you hire her specifically for that, she sources the produce organic and she juices it herself.
Yeah, everything is 100% organic. I really believe in that. And I also include superfoods in it as well. And so some of the transition smoothies that you'll get will incorporate spirulina and blue-green algae, which are high alkaline greens powders that also give you a little bit of protein too. And so I'm always growing and including more things into my programs, and it evolves with each client as well. And so, but I think the difference is that it's nourishing, whereas a water fast can be pretty harsh in the body, and you're also getting the salts now, which help with your kidney function. And it's not, it's just here, have some chicken fried steak at the end of it, you're on your way. Like, we really try and work with you every single step so you feel that you have the support to make some changes afterwards. And we're coming up on the new moon too. I always like to recommend new moons and full moons as times for cleanses specifically. And new moon is a great time to start new dietary habits because it's kind of this, again, renewal energy. And so we'll be talking more about the seasons and the time and working more with nature, I guess, to kind of coexist with that and bring our bodies back in harmony with that.
I'm a proud new dad and a tired dad too. I hope some of this makes sense. I come from a background of martial arts first and then into yoga as long as I remember. So I've always been interested in how to move. In the last several years, more about how to move well. Maybe not perfect, but well. I practice a couple beyond yoga. I like to teach yoga. I like to practice yoga, but I like to know how to make it better. And everybody wants to do that, but I'm sort of obsessive, maybe to a fault sometimes. I use a couple of different manual therapy techniques. And one's really more of a grandparent, maybe, or an elder. The other is just the sort of kind of a college kid that stayed in for too long. Either way, they're pretty well informed. The thing that really guides my practice comes from my muscle activation techniques training. Say if you had a container over here and a container over here, this container is your motion, your ability to move. And this container is your pain level at any given moment. Whenever this container goes down, the movement, your pain will go up. And then whenever your movement goes back up, your pain will come back down. And it doesn't have to be in the actual joint itself. Say you have pain in a joint, it might not be that joint that's not moving. It might be a different joint. The muscle activation techniques gives me a real precision to know everything about this joint. Well, within reason, you can't know everything, but about the motion of a certain joint. But sometimes it's not that joint, it's a different joint, so you have to go somewhere else. But I know by this idea, and I don't care about the pain per se, because I know when this goes back up, this just goes away, and I don't have to think about this bucket anymore. I hope this was the pain bucket over here. So, in my practice, or in my own manual therapy practice, I can't deal with pain. It's against the law. So, working with this principle of motion, and also working with the principle, this is the positive side. I'm working on the positive side, not on the negative side. So, maybe at a psychological level, there's a better output. Maybe. Most times. And then that comes through in my yoga practice. And the other sort of the elder technique that I practice is Feldenkrais. And I actually started my first sort of public class today over across the street at Coordination Pilates. And that's really what interests me a lot lately. And I don't know what else.
That's okay. So tell them how they can get in touch with you. What do you offer privates? How do they schedule with you?
I have a website, yogithomas.com. Maybe it's a good reflection. I'm actually out of cards. Or it's a reflection that I'm tired and, and I haven't really thought about it much. But yogithomas.com, my contact info is on there, and I do teach privates. I actually teach more privates than I do really anything. And my manual therapy technique is one-on-one. A typical person would come, say, if they have maybe some sort of joint injury, or they have, I don't want to say pain, but generally somebody will have some sort of pain, and I'm not promising that I can fix your pain, but I can definitely do something about your ability to move, which will have something to do with the outcome of your pain. Mm-hmm. So.
Very cool. Any questions?
I have a comment. So I've been practicing yoga for quite some time, and I also was a dancer. I did ballet for a while, and really injured my hip flexors, and nothing that I've ever been able to figure out has solved that until I worked with Thomas. And I don't know what kind of voodoo he does in Feldenkrais, but man, I can tell you that I've never experienced my hip flexors release after that. Within 30 minutes of our session, I noticed a huge difference in the pain levels. And so I think as a complement to your yoga practice, it's a really great thing, in addition to more manual deep tissue work as well. So keep doing the voodoo.
And the cool thing about working with Thomas too is that he is so technical and he's so science-based that he's going to give you instant feedback every moment while he's working with your body, so that you're going to learn about what's going on in you too. Mm-hmm. And then that's going to help with your yoga practice.
But I'll shut up too if you.
It complements really well.
I'll tell you one thing that we discovered I would never thought of was that my body was having a hard time absorbing B6, and that was causing some of this pain I was having in some other peripheral joints and things like that, some issues that I was dealing with. And sure enough, we took the precursor to B6 for a little while, and things just kind of opened up and helped. So things that you wouldn't expect, he definitely takes a deeper look at all of it. So I'm a big fan of Feldenkrais work and Thomas's work.
Yeah. It's a gift to work with him for sure.
Yeah, mine sometimes sounds kind of like voodoo, like she was saying. I do energy work, and that's sometimes hard to grasp unless you experience it. But it's pretty much a nurturing, gentle energy therapy, and I use very gentle touch around the body to bring the person into a state of balance and peacefulness. And doing that, healing touch puts you in such a deep state of relaxation that helps, brings you inward, and helps you connect to your inner self and the inner wisdom that we sometimes lose connection with during our normal lives. And so I think brings you to that deep connection to your inner self, it brings a lot of answers to things that you couldn't find the answer before. If that makes any sense. Okay. Well, and then also in a physical level, it helps with different things in all different levels. But in the physical level, I use healing touch in the hospital and hospice in the past as a volunteer. And I've seen, and even in my dad, when he had cancer before he passed away, I used healing touch, and I could tell by what I experienced how much it helped dealing with pain. Any kind of physical pain, healing touch, like a person will say, okay, your pain level from 1 to 10, they will say, well, it's an 8. And after the session, it usually is down to a 2 or a 1. And I can see that consistently, time after time. So that's that's a big thing, I guess, for me. Of course, I think like Andrew and everybody else here, I think that we all agree on that. I keep hearing the same thing, and I think the same way that you had to also, put your effort. You cannot just, like Andrew was saying, just lay there, okay, do a healing touch session on me, and then go home, and then, you might be okay for a few days, but I mean, you also had to work on yourself and put the time and the effort, and that's why I teach a lot of self-healing techniques. So you just not always have to come to me to feel that way, and you can learn on yourself, like Bryce was saying with the breathing, things you can do yourself at home, and self-healing techniques that you can use on your energy field when you have pain. Techniques that you can do hands-on on your own, to decrease your pain, and learn things that you can do, visualization and breathing and healing techniques that I've learned through the Healing Touch program. On the emotional level, I think I've seen a lot of healing touch helping with things that we maybe are not able to find the answer. Why this keep coming back into my life? Why do I keep on getting angry at this person? Or people with anxiety, for example. And you don't seem to find the answer. So you go to the doctor and they give you a pill and you take it, and that, kind of covers the whole thing. Yeah, you might feel better, but really it's on the surface, like deep underneath, the problem still exists and it hasn't gone away. So I think healing touch helps you emotionally, because it helps, since it brings that connection to your inner self. With time, if you keep on trying, doing the session or doing it on yourself, it things come up, even after a healing touch session or after you work on yourself, if you put your intention out there for whatever your intention is that day, like let's say find answers about different issues in your life, and things come up, and then they help you deal with things the way you never seen them before. So maybe you could never find an answer why my knee is always hurting when I never had an injury on my knee. And then after a healing touch session, the next thing you're like, you know what? When I was 5, I just remember this that happened, and it's like, whoa, how weird, So these kind of weird things that you would think of, it brings you answers that you have never thought before with your conscious mind. So it's kind of like a subtle, at a different level. It just brings answers emotionally that can help you deal with things. I have a client that had a lot of anger issues in the past, and through the healing touch sessions, he found out, a lot of things came up and it was related to his childhood, and a lot of things that happened that he always kind of covered up and never really released from his energy field, and they were trapped, in himself. And so through healing touch, he could actually open up and let everything out, and he started journaling, writing things about it, and all that brought a lot of healing, and the anger actually is not that it disappeared, but it went down quite a bit, and he learned how to do things to help with his anger, that before he was never able to manage before that. So that's another really good thing about healing touch. And spiritually, it really connects you to your inner self, like I said before, and it just creates this deep sense of spirituality and connection to a higher power, whatever you want to call it, God, or whatever God it is, but it just really grounds you spiritually, and you feel, that deeper connection to something higher than yourself. And like I said, in the hospice, I've seen people with a lot of pain, and that really helps with pain a lot. And it's just amazing how it decreases pain. Also with side effects, with people that are going through chemo, or like my dad went through cancer, and it really helps. Like a lot of people when they're in the hospital or suffering from any chronic illness, they have trouble sleeping and they have trouble, with nausea and unable to eat. And after a healing touch session, in a hospice patient, you can see that they just fall asleep right away and they just sleep all night. So, it just brings a different kind of healing, I said, than body work, even though I do body work too. But. So
how do they book with you or get a hold of you?
I have cards here, and I do healing touch here at the studio. So I have my cards there, and I have my email and my phone number there. And I also have some flyers that I need to put out there, actually. But I had some before. That says a little more about healing touch, and you can go to the Healing Touch International website, where there have a lot of research information that has been done by doctors in hospitals and hospices in different places, and you can, if you want to, really learn more about it, you can look at those research that are published out there.
All right. I primarily like to work with craniosacral therapy, and I also offer deep tissue, prenatal, reflexology. I do lots of different kinds of massage, but my focus is, my preferred method is craniosacral therapy, and that focuses primarily on the connective tissue. So your tendons and your ligaments are your thick bands of connective tissue, but you also have connective tissue between every fiber of muscle, between your muscles and your skin, between your organs, holding them in place. And your connective tissue is made up of two things, elastin and collagen. And the elastin is like a rubber band, and it stretches and then returns back to its original form. Collagen is more like silly putty, and so it's slower to stretch, but once it stretches, it maintains its new form. So I use a very slow, gentle touch, because if you use a forceful approach, the connective tissue contracts to protect itself. And so I use a light touch with craniosacral therapy to help the fascia unwind. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with craniosacral therapy, but as the name would imply, we're working with the cranium and the sacrum. That's the next thing. I mean, I do work with the entire body, with the abdomen, with the limbs, but I also work with the cranium and the sacrum, and there's a membrane of connective tissue. It's called I just blanked. The dura mater. No, not the dura mater. Oh my goodness. Oh.
What does this start with?
The dural tube.
Okay.
There we go. So the dural tube runs up and down the spine. It protects the spinal cord. So if there's restrictions in the dural tube, then it's going to be inhibiting the central nervous system. And so I work to elongate the dural tube to get a better flow through the central nervous system. And then I work with the cranial bones. And in Western medicine, they still commonly believe that the cranial bones are fused because they gathered their research from dead cadavers. But in Europe, it's widely recognized that the cranial bones, the sutures of the cranial bones, still move all throughout your whole life. Mm-hmm. So, so those sutures between the cranial bones can get jammed through injury. So I work to open up the sutures between the cranial bones, and that doesn't just relieve headaches, but it opens up the entire central nervous system to function better, and so you've got your occiput, and that's where the brain stem comes down and forms the spinal column, and then you've got the temporal bones, the parietal bones, the frontal bone, and then the base of your skull is the sphenoid, and the sphenoid cradles the pituitary and the pineal glands. So if the membranes of the brain are restricted and not allowing the sphenoid bone to properly rock and stimulate the pineal and pituitary glands, then your entire endocrine system is going to be compromised. So that about covers, like, I'm working with the central nervous system, the endocrine system, and the fascia. So that's I don't know. Do you have any questions about craniosacral therapy?
I can't wait to book with you. It sounds so good.
Yeah.
And you need to talk to Anitra too, because Anitra's having a little bit of jaw alignment issues, and we've been working with trying to reset her proprioceptors and trying to figure out why one side is higher than the other. And she's definitely got some diagonal discomfort pain with tone in the muscles going on. So I think this would be really cool.
Yeah, kind of necessary thing at this point.
Yeah. Do most people come to you with headaches, or do they come with specific conditions, or do you have a typical patient, or is that clients?
There's all headache is like kind of the easiest thing to treat, because I can just fix it like that, and but people come to me for all kinds of problems. I mean, just general pain. I mean, I don't know if we're not supposed to use that term.
Discomfort.
When the fascia is opened up and stretched out, then a lot of inflammation that's causing pain is reduced.
Massage therapy has a different rule set. I'm not a massage therapist, so
okay.
I can't go there. You might be able to go there. I can't.
Yeah.
She's a nurse too, so.
So how can they book with you? How do they find you?
I have cards with me, and I can leave some out there, and you can pick it up or ask me for one, and I'll be happy to share it with you.
Very cool. Any questions?
Well, yeah, since I'm not familiar with this at all, I'd just like to give us some examples of some the successes, I guess, that people had after coming to you and having this therapy.
Well, like
the type of things, not just a headache, but other issues that you were able to.
Yeah, I had one guy who couldn't raise his arm higher than about this, and after one session, he could raise his arm all the way up.
Right.
There you go, Ron.
I've had people with digestive problems that have been resolved because, the vagus nerve is the nerve that innervates the digestive system, and it comes from, the brainstem. So you open that up, and then the digestive system could work better. I've had a lot of people just say like that they feel lighter, they feel more. They can move better. They have better mobility in their joints.
I would think that they would be able to think more clearly, maybe the brain fog. Because I've heard that when people have what we call torticollis, you've seen the people that like walk around in their head like this, you actually can pull your brain stem out of its notch up to an inch. And so if you understand how you have the dura mater that's sitting, like she said, in the brain, and you got the stem here, and then you have 12 cranial nerves that come out for all your senses. And if you are pulling your brainstem out by an inch, and then you're squeezing all that dura mater, and then your cranial nerves are getting pinched, no wonder people can't hear, they can't see, they can't think, they can't breathe, they have no metabolism. Like, your whole control center is being squeezed. So that's definitely what I would think she'd be working with too.
Yeah, and I have a lot of people come to me for TMJ as well. So that's another thing just off the top of my head.